Yeah.
But I was actually pleasantly surprised at how much I liked
Jesus
this show.
fucking Christ. You are shitting me right now.
No, I liked it a lot. Me and my wife both watched it. We
You're
watched
fucking kidding
No,
me.
I am not.
I did not see that coming, man. That is like a Shyamalan twist.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Nerd You're Looking For podcast, a weekly nerd culture podcast that discusses the culture through various segments. My name, of course, is Patrick Kuhn, alongside my co-host, as always, that Tyler Hunt. How's it going, man?
It's going well. It's been a while.
Yeah, it has. How was your trip?
It was amazing. It always is. We love going to Disney World, so we had a lot of fun and did a lot of nerdy things. So it was cool.
Anything in particular?
Anything in particular? I mentioned it on the last episode that was put out, which was our preview for Shocktober. On October 1st, actually, we went to the Magic Kingdom's Halloween party.
Sure.
That you had to buy different tickets to, and then that was pretty awesome. The parade for that was crazy. The Haunted Mansion was all done up. It was a really good time.
Was Eddie Murphy there?
Eddie Murphy was not that I know of. Not that I know of, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. That's like our favorite place to go. So,
was that really the only Halloween-ish thing that you did while you were there?
Let me think. Yeah, I would say so. The Magic Kingdom's done up for Halloween.
Yeah.
So it was done up for Halloween the whole week, and we went on the Haunted Mansion multiple times, different days. So I guess you could say that's kind of Halloween-like. But yeah. Besides that, the party itself encompassed quite a bit. Like there was a Halloween themed fireworks show and the parade, and they had like this Hocus Pocus show this year at the castle. So that was pretty cool because I like that movie quite a bit. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
Have you gotten a chance to put up your Halloween decorations yet?
No, as soon as we got back, Brittany, my wife, said, "Hey, if you get the Halloween decorations down from the attic, I'll put them up for you." Or not for me, for us.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, sure. Well, my car's blocking the way to the attic, so I'll get them down tomorrow. And I haven't gotten them down yet, so I'll probably do that today or tomorrow. Yeah,
we started, and I'm kind of disappointed in our neighborhood. Like, this is the first Halloween that we've had this house, and I take that back. I was just going to say that we are the most hardcore about it, and we don't even have all of our decorations up because I have to fix something outside before we can put our lights up and our pumpkins out and stuff like that. The outlet outside's not working.
Oh, really?
Which is, I'm sure, is super exciting stuff to listen to. But anyways, the people next to us just recently moved out, which I'm glad because they were fucking assholes, and they're renting out their house. And so the people that are just moved in are pretty hardcore about it. So the people right next to us have a lot more decorations than we do currently. So that's kind of cool. But the neighborhood in general has kind of been disappointing.
Yeah, your decorations looked good when I walked out this morning or this afternoon. It looked, and then I like the beware you have in your living room in blood.
That's one thing that is kind of lacking. Is our inside decorations are not the best. They're kind of sparse. But this is the first Halloween that we've really gone all out because we've haven't had this house. This is the first Halloween we've had the house, and we never really got crazy about decorating an apartment. I just feel like that's kind of weird. So, yeah, this is kind of our first Halloween, and it'll be our first Christmas in the house. So my wife is huge about Christmas decorations, so it'll probably be about the same. Like, I spend a ton of money on Halloween decorations, and she wants to spend a ton of money on Christmas decorations. So it should be fun. Halloween will be kind of my thing, and then Christmas will be her thing. So it'll be a good time. I'm looking forward to the next couple of years going to Target because I got most of my stuff the day after Halloween last year. And so I'm kind of looking forward to kind of doing that every year and just kind of building up the collection of Halloween and Christmas decorations.
This is off topic, and I think we might have talked about it last year, but I forget what the documentary is called. American
Scream?
American Scream.
Yeah.
You've seen it, right?
I have not seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know about it. It's the same guy that did the Best Worst movie.
Yeah, yep, exactly. You need to watch it because, I mean, that's all that movie is or documentary is following a few families around that like go all out for their decorations and haunted houses.
I don't think it's still on Netflix though.
Oh, is it not?
Yeah, I literally, I'm going to talk about my Shocktober so far. I've been browsing Netflix a lot the last couple of days, and I have not seen it in their horror section.
I might have rented it from iTunes when I watched it. I don't know if I saw it on
I know it was on Netflix for a long, long time, and I just kept putting it off because I was like, well, that's a Shocktober movie. And then I just forgot about it last Shocktober. And I don't think unless they have it in some weird section, it may be in the documentary section, but it's certainly not in the horror section because I've gone through that like a million times the last couple of weeks. So, all right. So if this is your first episode, we appreciate you checking us out. We start each episode by checking in with each other. We call it What We're Into. So, Tyler, what are you into this week?
Just getting back from Disney. I wasn't able to dive too far into anything crazy. My Shocktober's actually been a little lackluster so far. I was in Orlando for the first 4 days of it, and then this week's just been crazy coming back to work and getting situated after a vacation. So I haven't been able to watch as much as I would have liked. So I don't have a lot of Shocktober updates, unfortunately. The one thing that my wife and I have been watching this week that I'm counting for Shocktober is American Horror Story Freak Show.
Yep.
I'd say we're about halfway through, and it's nothing great. Just like all of the seasons of American Horror Story, none of them are fantastic. I do have a soft spot for the first season. I know you didn't really like it, and you quit halfway through, but I did enjoy the first season. All of the seasons since have been kind of garbage. And it's because this show has become more about like its style and not about the story at all. So Freak Show kind of suffers from that as well, but not as much as Coven did. Freak Show has some cool things in it. There's some actors in it that are legitimately, I don't want to say freaks, but legitimately unique. They have unique gifts or however you want to put it. So that was kind of cool that there's that kind of aura in it. But for the most part, like, I'm just so tired of Jessica Lange. I don't think she's a great actress, and she's like the anchor of all of these seasons. And I'm glad that she's not in Hotel, which I haven't watched yet, but it's like they got Lady Gaga instead. So is it really that much of an upgrade? I don't know. But yeah, Freak Show's not too bad. There's some cool parts with it. I get so pissed off every episode I watch, and I just start like, I don't scream at the TV, but my wife's probably sick of me just bashing it every time we watch it, but I don't know. There's something about it. I just keep going with it. So we'll see how this season kind of wraps up.
Yeah, I try to do that where I would watch a couple episodes of that show instead of watching a scary movie last year, kind of giving it, kind of expanding the horizons of Shocktober a little bit, not just watching horror movies. And that's kind of the go-to for everybody when you want to watch a horror show is you watch American Horror Story. And I never watched it because I kind of heard mixed things about it. I just really didn't like it. I couldn't get into it at all. I think I did a couple of days, so I think I got through like maybe 4, maybe 6 episodes, somewhere in there. And for me, it felt like it thought it was really clever, and it thought it was really cool building this universe, and I just didn't care for any of the characters. Yeah. And I was just getting really irritated that they kept teasing things, and they kept teasing this universe and how it was all going to tie together. And I was just like, I don't care. I really, really don't care about these characters, and therefore I don't really care about this fucking universe that you keep teasing. So I was just like, I'm done. I would rather watch horror movies than waste days of Shocktober watching this stupid show that I don't really like.
While we're on the topic of this show, have you watched Scream Queens?
That's actually going to be what I'm going to talk about.
I'll save it for that.
Okay.
I got a lot to say about that.
Okay, really?
Just 2 more things I want to rattle off really quick before I throw it over to you, since I didn't have too much to say about Freak Show. I did have a package waiting at my door for me when I got off work yesterday, and my Rock Band 4 pre-order finally came in.
Oh, I thought you just had a guy waiting for you with a big dick. Yeah.
Okay. Me and my wife both love Rock Band. That's like the stuff that we did when we first started dating, whenever it was still kind of in. So
yeah, I remember going over her house and playing that. Yeah. This is my only time I've ever played Rock Band.
I love it, and she loves it, so it's something that we can do together, which is fun. We played it a little bit last night, so I don't have too much to report on it. It was fun. They changed the solos a little bit in Rock Band for guitars, and I don't know that I like it too much. It's really hard to explain how they changed it, but it doesn't require as much skill now.
Okay.
And
sounds like my kind of game.
Well, I'm a pretty modest person, but I will say that when Guitar Hero and Rock Band came out a few years ago, like I got really good at it.
Yeah.
And I've kind of, not playing it for a couple of years, I'm not as good, but
muscle memory.
Yeah. I still would have rather actually been playing the notes of the solo than what they changed it to, which is basically button mashing. So that was a bit disappointing, but I'm looking forward to keep playing that. And that's it, I think, man. So what are you into?
Well, I figure I would go ahead and give a kind of a Shocktober update. Tyler, you mentioned that you haven't really got to do much so far. I'm kind of picking up the slack for both of us, actually. I'm not really doing an update. I'm more just bragging. I have watched 15 movies this month total. Only 14 of them I'm actually counting towards my Shocktober total, because obviously we're going to do the Martian review, and so I'm not obviously counting that for Shocktober.
Wait a second, if you're counting that, that's
no. That's the one movie that I've watched that I'm not counting for Shocktober this month. A couple I wanted to highlight real quick because we actually talked about them last episode when we did our Shocktober preview. I watched the Audition, which I think it's actually only called Audition, but
that sounds really familiar.
Yeah, well, I brought it up last episode.
That's why it sounds super familiar.
It's a Japanese horror movie. Well, I don't know. I don't know if it's a Japanese movie, but they speak Japanese in the movie. So, anyways,
it's a good bet then.
Yeah. So it's a foreign film and a horror movie, which is unique. It's always kind of it's kind of a crapshoot with horror movies in general, but especially with foreign horror movies. I don't know. But anyways, I had read that Rob Zombie loves this movie. Eli Roth loves this movie.
Rob Zombie loves it. Like, he has such a good record.
And it's kind of a slow burn. They do a really good job of building up these characters, even though the main character, the guy, for me, is just not that likable. I think he kind of rushed into this relationship with this woman, which obviously, at the end is kind of his downfall. It's really, really slow at the beginning. You kind of assume when you first meet this woman that there's something wrong with her. Like you just get that creepy feel, like that there's something up with her. And it turns out that she's a fucking psycho. And then the last 10, 15 minutes, it really, not quite as gory as maybe the Green Inferno or some of the later Saw movies, but it does get pretty graphic. And I can safely say that this is the only movie I've ever watched where someone enjoys eating a bowl of vomit. That happens in this movie.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere too, and they never really explain what's going on with it. But it gets really disturbing really quickly. But I liked it. It was well done, and so I appreciated how they tried to build the characters, and they didn't just go right into the gore. So I appreciated that, because I think some of those movies tend to just forget the story and just go straight into the gore, like we talked about with the Green Inferno.
Straight into the vomit eating.
Yep, pretty much. And so I liked how they kind of didn't blow their load right away. But that being said, I wouldn't necessarily put it up in the upper echelon of horror movies. Like I have Googled best underrated horror movies, and this movie usually pops up. I don't necessarily think that I would put it in that category, but I didn't not like it. So
would you recommend me watch it for Shocktober, or would you rather, or do you think I should focus my time somewhere else?
I wouldn't watch it, to be honest.
Is it on Netflix?
No, I actually had to rent it from Vudu. So I actually paid money to watch this movie.
Sorry.
So that kind of goes into it a little bit. It wasn't a bad movie. Don't get me wrong. It was perfectly fine. It was well done. They developed the characters. The writing was good. I didn't really like the guy very much, and I don't know necessarily if you're really supposed to like the guy. And then they didn't, like I said, they didn't really blow their load with the gore. So it was well done. It just, I don't know. It didn't sit right with me, and I'm not in the way that you would think that this movie wouldn't sit right with you. But
I'm not a huge fan of Japanese horror.
Yeah.
So I'll probably avoid it, I guess.
Okay.
Judging by what you've said.
Yeah.
And the fact that you explicitly told me to avoid it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're into that kind of thing, then definitely check this movie out if you haven't already. Because like I said, it's well done, but I wouldn't necessarily go out there and say, go see this movie or whatever.
I'll just wait till America remakes it.
Yeah, probably. The next movie that we talked about last week that I've watched since is The Den. We talked about Unfriended and how there was basically a better version of that movie on Netflix, and it was called The Den, and we were both looking forward to it. You haven't watched it, have you?
Nope.
All right.
The top of my list of things to watch within the next few days.
Yes, definitely watch it. It's awesome.
Fantastic.
It's really good. I like how it's not a found footage movie per se, but it's kind of the same in that it's adjacent to found footage because it's all done on computer, webcam sort of style, and they do security footage here and there. So it's kind of done in the same vein as found footage, but I wouldn't necessarily call it that. But I really enjoyed how they justified why it was continually being filmed by these people. Like, that's always my main problem with found footage movies. Not only is the fact that it's a gimmick and that kind of bothers me, but the fact that realistically these characters at a certain point will just say, fuck filming this shit and just try to get out of the situation. This film, I believed why they continued to film it. And it's just a really well done horror movie. There are some pretty cheap jump scares at certain points, which we've talked about before that bother both of us and are just really just irritating, but they work well. There's a particular scene towards the end of the movie where I actually jumped, and that doesn't happen very often. Even though it was a cheap jump scare, it was really effective, so you kind of have to give it credit where credit's due. And I just really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear that because I've been looking forward to it for months and kept putting it off for Shocktober, so I'm glad that it lived up to your pretty high horror standards. It makes me think that I'll probably like it. Yeah,
I couldn't suggest it more. It's really great. If you like that kind of found footage type of movie, I think you'll even appreciate it more than I did because I'm not a fan of that genre and I still enjoyed it.
Awesome.
I've actually watched a lot of found footage movies. I actually watched Willow Creek right after. I've been doing this thing where I'll just get home, and once my wife goes to bed, I'll stay up until like 3 or 4 in the morning and just watch like 2 or 3 horror movies back to back. And I watched Willow Creek right after I watched The Den, and that's another found footage movie, and that was boring as shit. I would not suggest that at all, which is weird because I really like Bobcat. He wrote and directed this movie.
Bobcat Goldthwait?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever you say.
Yeah, he's an awesome comedian, and he's done some really good movies in the past. I just was surprised.
Hercules.
Well, okay, whatever, man.
He's a voice in Hercules, man.
I know he is.
Fantastic.
But I meant like Disney. Directing.
World's Greatest Dad. That's the one. What else has he done?
What's that? Shakes the Clown or whatever.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he has Adam Sandler. It's an older movie. I don't know. I don't think that's the actual. It's something the clown, but yeah, I am a fan of his, and that was just kind of disappointing. It was basically a Bigfoot version of the Blair Witch Project, which is a movie I don't really get. I never really liked that movie.
I don't know. You just kind of intrigued me with the whole Bigfoot thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I've never seen like a Bigfoot horror movie.
Yeah, it's not good. Don't watch this one.
I don't know, man.
And the ending is really weird and abrupt and not really well developed. So
I don't know. I kind of want to watch it.
All right. Well, if you're listening to this, don't watch Willow Creek. It's not good.
Or maybe do. I don't know, if you're kind of craving a Sasquatch horror movie.
But yeah, I've watched a lot of found footage movies. I watched The Taking of Deborah Lane.
That sounds really familiar.
Well, basically, apparently it's a pretty popular GIF on the internet, but I'd never seen it. But
what part? What is it?
There's an ending that kind of crazy, I guess. I don't know. I've never actually seen it. So, I mean, I watched the movie. I've never seen but I was just looking at the IMDb trivia of this movie, and apparently it's a pretty popular one.
Okay. Taken
from this movie, and it's a found footage movie.
Good Lord, for somebody who hates found footage, you sure have.
I've watched, 3? I think, this Shocktober. So not a huge percentage of the movies I've watched, but more than I probably wanted to watch. And I want to watch the rec movies, the record, whatever.
Oh, however yeah. Have you never seen the first one?
No. I've seen Quarantine, which is fucking garbage.
Yeah, the rec is good. I've never seen any of the sequels, but I like rec.
Yeah, I'd like to see those movies this Shocktober. That's kind of one thing that I want to watch, but that will just add to my found footage totals this year, which I'm not necessarily looking forward to. But the thing that I actually wanted to talk about for what I'm into was, like I mentioned before, Scream Queens.
Oh, yeah, let's fucking do it.
I was actually really nervous about this show because I heard good things, but I am not a Ryan Murphy fan. I liked Nip Tuck, but it got really fucking stupid towards the last couple of seasons. It really jumped the shark pretty hard the last couple of seasons, so I kind of fell off that show. Glee, I really liked that first episode. I thought it was hilarious, and then I think I made it through maybe the 4th episode of the first season, and it got really like high school drama, soap opera, and it didn't pique my interest. And I think it's funny because the last 2 seasons of Glee, everybody was saying how kind of stupid it was, and I was like, I've been saying that since the 5th episode of the first season. But nobody was listening to me. So that first episode, though, is really funny, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. It just never really lived up to that standard. And then he did American Horror Story, like we just talked about. So I don't really rehash all that I just said about the first season of American Horror Story. So I was really nervous about this show because, I don't know, I don't think he does good television.
Yeah.
But I was actually pleasantly surprised at how much I liked this show.
Jesus fucking Christ. You are shitting me right now.
No, I liked it a lot. Me and my wife both watched it. We watched
You're fucking kidding me.
No, I am not.
I did not see that coming, man. That is like a Shyamalan twist.
I watched The Village in The Sixth Sense for Shocktober as well. But anyways, I think Scream Queens is funny. It's not very scary, obviously. It's a network show, so the gore is just not there. It's never going to be there. You see a person at one point get their head driven over by a lawnmower, but you don't actually see it happen. You just see the blood splatter. So it is what it is. It's on Fox, so it's just not going to be that scary. I think they're going to definitely milk this Red Devil thing for all it's worth, which is kind of annoying. But so far, I really appreciate the satire of the sorority. Even though it's kind of hard for me to believe that people this awful really exist. But I mean, I went to a smaller school, so maybe you went to IU, so maybe you saw more of these types of characters than I did.
Exactly like this. No, it fucking wasn't like this at all.
All right, so I'm assuming that you didn't enjoy Scream Queens.
No, man, what the fuck? I don't know. I was excited for it. I love Jamie Lee Curtis, and the fact that she's in this show called Scream Queens, since she is like the OG Scream Queen, is awesome. And I don't know, I was sitting there watching it, and my wife likes a lot of dumb shit. We've talked about this multiple times.
Am I in Brittany's camp right now?
So I'm watching it, and Brittany's watching it with me. She's like, this is really bad. And so even my wife was stupid slow. I don't know, man.
I feel a little bit bad about myself right now.
I get the satire, and she doesn't get satire, so I can understand why she doesn't like it. And I get the satire, but even
they're poking fun at how horrible these people are.
Yeah, and so I made it through half of the pilot. The pilot was really long. It's like an hour and a half.
Well, it was actually technically the first 2 episodes.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
So I made it. I pretty much turned it off after Ariana Grande got killed. The whole texting thing, I didn't get it. And
I thought that was actually really, really funny, by the way.
Dude, I don't know.
I love how she was trying to tweet that she is somebody to help her. I thought that was hilarious.
I don't know. I like Emma Roberts. She plays a really good twat, for lack of a better word.
Cunt.
That's what I was going to go with, but I mean, she plays a really good bitch. And, so I did like her, and I, of course, like Jamie Lee Curtis. I considered going back and finishing the pilot and kind of sticking with it a couple more episodes because the majority of people seem to love it like you do. I don't know, man. It was really out there.
I actually didn't like the Jamie Lee Curtis character. She's one of the parts of the. She's not dead.
Oh, I only made it through halfway through
I don't like her character. It's kind of all over the place. Okay. I don't really get her motivations.
So in the first half of the pilot, she goes from being like this hard ass to sleeping with a student to, and I don't know where her character goes.
It's all over the place, man. And she just doesn't seem like she's the dean of this college, and she just doesn't seem like she's acting like a dean. Like this, if this person existed in real life, they'd be fired like the first week. Because all these murders, and she's not helping and then I think it's this latest episode, she just decides to move in with these girls. It's all over the place. Like, this person would be fired so fucking quickly. So that's kind of hard to believe, but.
I don't know, man. This show, at least from what I saw of it, it wasn't just her character. I just think the whole show was all over the place and didn't really like have a set genre, and the satire was there, and some of it was funny and some of it was lame. It just, it didn't resonate well with me.
Okay.
But I can, I don't know. I kind of like that you like it. Like, you just surprised me. You kept things fresh. I like it.
All right, cool, man. So our next segment is just plainly called Comics. Tyler and I read a ton of comics, and we like to spotlight one or two each week. So, Tyler, what are you reading this week?
So next week, Civil War #5 comes out, and that will end the Civil War story that ties into Secret Wars. I've talked about it a few weeks ago, probably a month or two ago, when issue 1 came out, and I just wanted to touch on issues 3 and 4 really quick. So this story, again, just to recap, kind of spun out of the original Civil War that came out a few years ago.
Yep.
It's kind of like what would have happened if things hadn't had a resolution. So the United States gets separated into two sides: Iron Man's side, which is called the Iron, and then Captain America's side, which is called the Blue. And things have been kind of heating up between the two sides. They had kind of split and not talked to each other for a while, and now there's pretty much a war going on. And these two issues specifically had a lot of twists and turns as to what was secretly causing the war, and what was secretly plotting each side against each other. There's a third party who I won't spoil who it is, but had basically been plotting both sides against each other, and that was a pretty cool reveal. I've shit on Secret Wars a lot, but I do appreciate that this bigger arc gave creators an opportunity to kind of do these one-off stories that, I mean, in the end aren't going to matter, but they got to do fun things with these characters and kind of tell what-if stories. So the same thing with Renew Your Vows. I did like Renew Your Vows more than this, but this is definitely second for me out of what I've read. It's a lot of fun, and it's kind of cool to see a side of characters that you don't typically see in the regular timeline.
Yeah, that's one thing. Even though I do like Secret Wars a lot more than you do, obviously, we've talked about that a lot recently. Other than the Infinity Gauntlet, every side story that's come out of Secret Wars has been really great. At least I've read. I haven't obviously read all of them because there's been a ton, but I've enjoyed Battle World. I've really enjoyed Renew Your Vows. I'm not caught up on Civil War. I think I've actually only read the first issue. I've been really behind on the stuff that I get from our local comic book shop. Yeah. And my folder is probably huge at this point because it's been at least a month since I've been there. Just been so goddamn busy with work. The comics that I have been reading are just the ones that are the lazy ones that I get through the mail. Because I have a subscription through Marvel, and I also have a pull list through Midtown. They both come through the mail, so it's been really easy not to go to the comic book shop recently. But I really, really need to get caught up because I'm also backed up on Batman because I get it from the comic book shop too. So this is something that sounds really good, and I like the first issue. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it kind of ends.
Yeah, what's cool with Civil War 2 is it was shown this week. I guess comic book retailers got like a postcard from Marvel that kind of teased that Civil War would be coming back this spring as maybe Marvel's next big, cross-issue epic.
Yeah.
So obviously there's been no confirmation of that. There's been no announcement, but the little advertisement that comic retailers got kind of hinted at that. So I'd love to see that happen again.
For sure.
I like the idea of Civil War between heroes. It's always been something that kind of is interesting to me. So, yeah, Civil War, I'd suggest it. What are you reading?
Well, I'm going to talk about The Mantle, number 5, which is a comic book that we've both praised in the past. I was a couple issues behind. Number 5 just got released, I think, last week or the week before. So it's fairly new, but I hadn't actually read number 4 until the last couple of days when I caught up with it. Number 4 was awesome. I really liked number 4. I've liked this arc so far. I'm assuming it's an arc. I don't think The Mantle was ever made to be a miniseries, so no. I guess it's going to continue. But its big thing has always been, well, The Mantle chooses this particular person, and there didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason why they chose them. I actually had a theory of why I thought it was the particular characters were being chosen. Turns out I was right in number 5, but it didn't give me the satisfaction that I was thinking it was going to be, because they never explained why. I was right, and I don't want to spoil it because I don't think that you've read it yet.
No, I haven't got it in the mail yet, so yeah. I'm caught up to issue 4.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, I don't want to spoil it for our listeners either. But I had talked about it previous, and I said that I had a theory about why they were being chosen, and it turns out I was right. It just didn't pay off like I thought it was going to. There was no explanation why. Yeah, I was right, but it didn't factor into the story at all. And the payoff in number 5 in general wasn't that great. It just seemed like the easiest way to do the story, and it just I was really looking forward to number 5 because I felt like it was kind of coming to an end. Not necessarily an end, but kind of the forces were going to come together a little bit. And it just, when that happened, it just was very, very disappointing. And I'm going to keep reading it. Like I said, I think it's going to continue going on after number 5. I don't think it was built for a miniseries. I just don't see how they're going to do it. Honestly, I mean, there's a pretty big conclusion to this story. And I just don't see how they're going to continue with it. Like, it was really interesting. The concept was really interesting to me, and I don't know if that's going to continue after number 5. It was just really disappointing, and I understand that I'm being vague, but I mean, I can't tell you what happens without spoiling it, obviously. So,
yeah,
I would suggest obviously pick this up because it was a really good book up until number 5. And number 5 is it's beautiful artwork. The action's really great. It's just the story just didn't. As much as I've really enjoyed the story so far, it just kind of let me down a little bit.
Yeah, I was really looking forward to issue 5. I'm gonna read it as soon as it comes in the mail. It's disappointing to hear that things kind of fell apart because, like you said, the first 4 issues are just fantastic. It was one of my favorite comics to read out of what I'm reading now, so hopefully they can put things back together, I guess. I'm assuming, like you said, that it was an ongoing series. I didn't think it was a miniseries, so
I didn't think so either, but then I started questioning it after number 5 because there's a pretty big thing that happens at the end of 5, and it kind of destroys the whole concept of the comic book, so I don't see how they're going to continue after this. But they left it open-ended, so they could still continue. But I don't know if it's going to be as appealing as it previously was for me.
Okay, cool. I'm interested to see where things go then.
Yep. All right, so our next segment is just nerd news. Tyler compiles the latest nerd news. Hopefully, it's been better than the last month or so. The last 2 episodes, we didn't even do nerd news because it was so lacking. So, Tyler, what do you got this week?
Nothing earth-shattering, but a few cool stories, I guess. So the first one is actually probably a good story in both of our opinions. The Terminator franchise has been placed on hiatus or on hold.
Yep.
That's the rumor. And then one of the producers came out this week and said, oh, no, we're just retooling it. And I don't know if that's true because I think they kind of shit the bed with Genesis.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that's good, right? Like, no more, they won't fuck that up any further for a while.
Yeah, but I'm just so nervous that they're just going to keep like I read an article, and it was probably the same article that you read about that producer saying that they're retooling it. I'm just afraid that means that they're scrapping this idea and just rebooting it again. And I just feel like they're going to continuing to do that over and over again. Because I talked about that when I don't remember what episode it was, but I was really nervous about this movie because they were changing so much and retconning and doing all of these things that if it didn't work, which it didn't, what are they going to do?
Yeah.
They can't keep going with the shitty story.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can only reboot it so many times before people are not going to watch it anymore.
You know, I think at this point, as much as I am typically against remakes and stuff, they're not going to let it go. You got to stop trying to connect things back to a movie that was made 30 years ago with a guy who's on his I don't want to say on his deathbed, but you know, he's old as shit. He's not the Terminator anymore. So if you're going to keep putting this franchise out at this point, just remake it with new characters, put a new twist on it, and call it the Terminator, and see if you can do better that way, because they're obviously not having any luck trying to continuously connect it back to these movies that were made 30 years ago.
If you're just going to reboot it, then just reboot it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, forget Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just redo it.
He's not the reason that those movies were awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It was the concept. And you can easily do that without making a mess of the story and fucking up these. That's what I hate, is you go back and you watch Terminator and T2 and you love those movies, and those movies still hold up and are great, but then you think, well, in Genesis they completely redid all of this, so none of it technically actually happened. So what does it say about this movie I'm watching? Yeah. And I hate that. So
for me, Terminator and T2 are the only ones that exist.
Yeah.
Well, Salvation wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I enjoyed Salvation more than other people seem to have. And I think we've said that before.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so Seth Grahame-Smith is going to direct the Flash movie with Ezra Miller attached to star. That's interesting.
It's a terrible choice.
Has he directed anything yet, or has he just written movies?
I know I know for a fact that he directed a few episodes of that Hard Times of R.J. Berger. Did you ever watch that show? He created it.
Did he?
Yeah. On MTV. It was actually a really funny show. I enjoyed it. They kind of got away from the concept of the show.
Yeah, I watched like the first 3 or 4 episodes of it.
Yeah, I've seen every episode.
And I'm looking it up now. That's the only thing that he has directed.
Yep.
Ooh.
And he's written some bad ones. Like, I know he wrote Dark Shadows, which was terrible.
He got story credits for Dark Shadows, but
I thought he actually wrote Dark Shadows.
According to IMDb, he has story credits.
Oh, really? And I know he obviously has, at least based on characters from The Vampire Hunter.
He wrote that screenplay.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Maybe I was getting those two mixed up then.
Yeah, obviously he wrote the book, and then he wrote the screenplay for the movie as well.
Which I like that movie. I think I'm one of the few people that like that movie, though.
I liked it. My wife loved it, and then she read the book, and now she doesn't like it anymore.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know.
I thought it was a good adaptation.
Apparently, he wrote the screenplay for Beetlejuice 2. That gets off the ground.
Oh, yeah. I did know that, yeah.
Surprisingly, he did not write anything for Pride and Prejudice and Zombies.
Yeah, I almost thought that he did for a long time. I was pretty sure that he was writing it. I mean, it would just make sense because he's written all these other movies. Why wouldn't he? But
that was like his first big book, too, wasn't it?
Yes.
I haven't watched the trailer for that yet. Have you?
No, I have not. It just got released.
Are you interested in it?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I love that book. It's fantastic.
All right, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that movie. But yeah, back to The Flash. It's just kind of a weird pool. Like, he's never done anything with comic books or superheroes, and now he's directing
Yeah, but he's kind of been...
I mean, he's
He's
in the realm of nerddom.
Yeah.
I would say that, but he's not... I can't really bash him for not having too much experience as a director, because Marvel keeps doing that. Yeah. And they tend to have some luck there, so I don't know, maybe he'll do okay. We'll see.
I'm not a fan of the character, and I don't think he's going to do a good job. So I will see the movie just because I'm a sucker, and it's a superhero. But I mean, I saw the Green Lantern with Ryan Reynolds, so I'm probably going to see this movie.
Yeah, well, we got a few years to kind of see what comes about with it.
Sure.
It doesn't make any sense. We've said it before. It doesn't make any sense that they're doing this movie while there's a very successful TV show on with the same exact character.
And it's not going to be the same person.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just so weird. Okay. Anyways, there was this quote from Daniel Craig earlier this week that really caught me off guard. and I don't know if you saw this story or not, but basically he was asked about doing another Bond movie.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that the thought of it makes him want to vomit. And, he wouldn't even consider it for a couple of years just because he's been so immersed in Bond for the last few years. Like, he's just sick of doing it. And then if he were to do another one, it would just be for the money.
Yeah.
So that's really uplifting right before Spectre.
I mean, it is what it is. When you're an actor, I feel like I feel like every actor kind of gets that way when they have to do the same character over and over again. Yeah. Just as a person, you just want to do different things. And
yeah.
I mean, I completely get where he's coming from. It's a bummer because I like those movies. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, I mean, you're not going to want to do the same exact thing over and over again.
I 100% where he gets from, and I would respect his choice not to do any more Bond if that's what he decides to, but it's just really weird to say that kind of stuff a month before Spectre comes out.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make me not want to see the movie. I think it's going to be awesome, but yeah, I don't know. I imagine the studio's pissed.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. Bob's Burgers got renewed for 2 more seasons.
Okay, that's not news for me.
Yeah, but it's a really good show. You should watch it. It's hilarious. That one's for me then. Let's see. I got 2 more stories. One of them's small, and then this next one, the one after that's a little bit bigger. So Rick Moranis might return to acting. I guess he was offered a cameo in the new Ghostbusters movie, and he turned it down because he didn't understand why he would do that.
Yeah.
The quote from him is actually kind of funny. He's like, I wish them all the best, but why would I go work on a movie for a day? And, I took a lot of time off when my wife died, but if the right project were to come, I would absolutely do it, which excites me because I think he's a really talented guy.
Yeah, and, for sure.
You haven't seen him in anything for so long. I'd be really interested to see him back in film.
Yeah, he did a lot of voice work, didn't he, for a while?
Yeah, I think he did. I know he was a voice in Brother Bear, which I never saw.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure he did a couple other things. But the last live action movie he did was Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves, I think.
Huh.
So, I mean, it's been a while since he's done anything.
Yeah.
But I always liked him. I'd be interested to
see
him do something again. All right. So this next one is a rumor. Well, half of it's a rumor and half of it's was announced. But the Inhumans movie is rumored to have been canceled.
Yes.
And the split from that has to do with Kevin Feige, who was recently liberated from his boss, which is the CEO of Disney, I believe, and I forget his name, but the CEO's over the TV half of Marvel and Feige's over the movie half, and apparently they don't get along. And so obviously, if you're familiar with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which I'm not watching, but I mean, all the promotional stuff for it is they're debuting the Inhumans.
I thought they already had.
Yeah, I think they did the last season, but it's, they're really going forward for it this season, I would suppose. And that's like a 3-year build up to this movie. That's basically 3 years of promotion when they get to this movie. And now Kevin Feige is rumored to have be canceling it or have a hand in canceling it. And I read a different article this morning that debunked that rumor, but it's still kind of interesting to think that there's 2 different people in charge of the movies at Marvel and the TV at Marvel, and that they're not on the same page and they don't like each other.
Do you think it's as petty, like, oh, I don't want to make this movie because...
honestly, that's what the article makes it sound like. I would imagine with a multi-billion-dollar industry and a multi-billion-dollar company like Disney that, if that were the case, something would be done about it.
Yeah, somebody would step in and be like, let's be real here.
Yeah. So I would imagine that that's the case. But, I mean, it makes it sound like it's like high school drama between these 2 guys. I don't know. Going into that, they also announced 3 untitled Marvel movies for the year 2020. And they shifted a couple things around to announce that in July of 2018, there's an Ant-Man sequel coming called Ant-Man and the Wasp.
I was thinking that this was going to be your last story when you kind of teased that it was a bigger one. I thought you were talking about this one.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited for that. I like that Ant-Man's getting a sequel, and I love that it's not called Ant-Man 2, that it's called Ant-Man and Wasp. Like, I can't wait to see Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd, like, doing this together and playing these iconic characters, and it just shows how vast the Marvel universe is now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so awesome.
I really liked Ant-Man. I thought it was great. and I'm looking forward to seeing the sequel. It looks awesome, and I'm really looking forward to see his part in Civil War, because it definitely gets teased pretty hard at the end of Ant-Man.
For sure. So starting in 2017 up until at least 2020, we get three Marvel movies a year, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Which is probably why Steven Spielberg is like, fuck superhero movies, they're gonna die. Which did you see that he kind of
backpedaled a little? Yeah, I did see that.
Whoa. But yeah, that's all I have for nerd news. So some pretty big stuff going on over at Marvel's, and it's a good time to be a nerd. So.
Yeah, I had seen a couple of these stories announced while you were in Disney, and I was like, thank God, we'll have something to talk about when he comes back, because it's been pretty bad even when we did nerd news a few episodes ago, it was not great. The stories were definitely we're lacking. So
yeah, we're definitely not going to force nerd news. If there's nothing great to talk about, we'll do some other topic.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we made it work. I like the comic book redo, and then I, of course, love talking about Shocktober. So I thought both of those topics work. So from now on, we're not going to force it. If there's nothing good, we're just going to try to figure something else out to fill in the time.
Yep, for sure. So that is it for nerd news, man. I'm ready to go on to our main topic,
which is the Martian review. We talked about how I watched it, and that's we're going to review it. We haven't reviewed a movie in a while. I think it's actually been 3, 4, 5, maybe 5 episodes.
No,
something like that.
And when did Green Inferno come out? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know. Fuck it.
It's been a few episodes since we've reviewed a movie, and I'm really looking forward to it. I guess we're going to have a string of them here shortly with The Martian today, and then Crimson Peak comes out next week, and then Goosebumps comes out the following week,
which is getting really good reviews too.
Oh, really? I hadn't been really paying much attention to it, but it's still a couple of weeks away, so I hadn't even looked at it yet. But I'm definitely looking forward to getting back into it. So, The Martian, my little synopsis. During a Mars mission, astronaut Mark Watney is left behind after his fellow astronauts assume he is dead and must flee due to an unexpected storm. However, Watney did survive and now must find a way to live on Mars until help can return.
AKA Castaway in space.
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, I was kind of looking for the volleyball. There really wasn't that moment, though, so I was kind of happy about that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, so broad strokes, Tyler. What'd you feel about The Martian?
I loved it quite a bit. I think that this is Ridley Scott's best movie in years, and I actually liked it a lot more than I thought it would. Matt Damon, for me, and we'll talk about this more in performances, I think he's a great actor, but I think he's more believable to me whenever he's playing an unlikable character.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit worried that he's kind of like the hero of this story, but he knocked it out of the park. A lot of the cast knocked it out of the park. We'll get to that in performances. But yeah, just in general, it's like the best sci-fi movie I've seen in a long time. I really, really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. After I left this movie, I went and saw it with my wife, and I was actually kind of nervous because throughout the movie, I was really digging it, like it sounds like you were. But my wife and I, we both love movies, but I was really kind of nervous that she wasn't going to like it as much as me. And I was pleasantly surprised at how much she liked it as well, which shouldn't surprise me because honestly, there's not a whole lot to dislike about this movie.
Oh, for sure.
Everything that you want from a space exploration movie, you got. The landscapes were stunning. The writing was really great. The main character that kind of just carries this movie through long stretches was funny, likable. I mean, you rooted for this character. And then the action towards the end, because you cared so much about this character and the other adjacent characters as well, it was very, very suspenseful because you wanted to see this character and fellow characters survive and go home because they had spent so much time in space. I mean, I just loved it. I ate it up. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go into the story, but it's funny that you say you ate it up. It's like whoever wrote this movie and the filmmakers had me just eating out of the palm of their hands. Like,
yeah,
I was
for sure.
so immersed.
Yeah. So, story. What'd you feel about the story?
I loved it. I mean, I don't think that it was anything too incredibly original. Obviously, it's based on a book, but the whole time I was thinking like, this is Castaway in space.
Yeah.
And I hate saying that because I don't want it to seem like I think it's a knockoff, because it's not. It's a very unique movie. It's a very, I don't want to say original either, because, the idea of being stranded is not something that's been done quite a few times before, but I just like the back and forth, I guess, of the story between Mars and Earth.
Yeah, so that's a dynamic that wasn't in Castaway.
Yeah, so and that's what it is. This is a better Castaway.
Yeah.
I like this a lot better than I like Castaway. And it's such a weird thing to compare the two, because they're so different in a lot of ways and so similar in a few others. But I really appreciate watching Matt Damon's character try to find out how to survive and what he's going to do and how he's going to reach NASA. And then on the other, the next scene, you're watching people scramble on Earth, like how are we going to save this guy?
Yeah.
And what are we going to do? And just seeing the dynamics between the two storylines that are going on. And then Matt Damon carries it very well. His character is so incredibly likable. And where in Castaway, I think Tom Hanks has more breakdown moments. Like
for sure,
it was really refreshing that his character handles almost everything in stride.
Sure,
like there are of course the dramatic moments here and there, but his character made things really interesting and everything really fun. It made it feel more of an adventure type movie than a drama or something sad or something depressing. Yeah. So that was the feel of this movie was what had me loving it so much.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything that you just said. I liked how it felt like the writers had like almost a stopwatch, and it was like every 15, 20 minutes there hadn't be something that went wrong. And Matt Damon's character was so great, like you mentioned, at just, okay, here's the problem up ahead. I have to solve this problem. I'll worry about 20 days from now. When 20 days comes, I need to figure out this problem, take care of it right now, and then I'll move on. I can only do one thing at a time. I can only solve one problem at a time. And he did it. And he, like you said, he stayed optimistic the whole time. And so, I mean, he had a few breakdowns here and there, which made it made his character even more likable, because it was more believable, because nobody would stay that optimistic for that long. So I appreciated that. And the fact that he went through so much, helped the ending. Yeah. Because you, like I said, you cared about this character so much and you rooted for him. And the ending, which I won't ruin, obviously, but that was really cute what he did. I thought that was pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
I will say that, and this movie didn't do it as bad as movies in the past. I don't like when movies make the environment the villain. Yeah. And I don't think that this movie did it that bad, because Matt Damon does talk about it a few times here and there throughout the movie, where he appreciates Mars. He loved his job, that even if he goes, I mean, he did something that he loved, but I don't know. There's really no villain in this movie. And so I don't like when movies make nature the villain, because it's not, it's kind of it's not doing it on purpose. It's not doing nature doesn't have an agenda. Yeah. So it just kind of bothers me. And then again, this movie didn't do that. It wasn't as blatant as other movies I've seen, but that kind of bugged me a little bit.
You're right. Like he should have been fighting xenomorphs the whole time.
Shut up. Fuck you. I thought that the ending was a little heavy-handed. The very end, where he's, well, I don't want to get.
I think I know what you're talking about.
I don't want to give away the ending in case no one's seen it or hasn't read the book or whatever. But I thought that was kind of heavy-handed. Like it felt like, just in case we didn't get the point of the movie, here I'm going to explain to you everything that you were supposed to already get. And it always bothers me when filmmakers do that, not just in this movie, but in general.
Yeah.
I felt like they were talking down to us, like we didn't get what the point of the movie was.
Yeah.
So that kind of bugged me, but not enough to take me out of the movie. I really, really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. For me, just while we're still on story, I thought this movie was a bit long. there was I don't know, there was a couple times where I was like, all right, this part's dragging a little bit. And then I think some of the scientific stuff that was in it was a little distracting. Not like
I didn't think it was that bad.
Some scenes they did a really good job of it, especially when Donald Glover was explaining his stuff. They did a really good job of it.
That was
it was not only funny, but it did a good job of explaining to the audiences, like people that don't understand rocket science, like how this was going to work. But then other parts, especially, on Earth, because Matt Damon's character talks, kind of has a narrative and explains what he's doing and why. And then whenever you're on Earth and these different factions of NASA are going back and forth and talking about how they could do this or how they could do that, it was just like constant, like science thrown at you, which I can respect, but at the same time, it's just like, all right, I'm more interested in the narrative, not the hows.
Yeah. I didn't mind that so much. Did you think that this movie did a better job than Interstellar? Because I felt like Interstellar was awful at points. Like, it was hard to listen to them explain how black holes and shit work. I don't care.
Yeah.
I really don't care.
And in all fairness, I think black holes are a lot harder to explain than some of the stuff they had to explain in this movie. I will say I like this movie more than Interstellar.
Yeah, for sure.
It's obvious with you. You didn't really like Interstellar that much. But I liked Interstellar quite a bit, but I like this movie better.
All right.
Just while we're on this, comparing this or Gravity?
Probably Gravity.
Really? That's surprising to me.
I don't know. I appreciated how hard it would have had. I mean, I guess this movie might have been, I wouldn't say equally as hard, but it probably would have still been pretty hard to film it. But I feel like Gravity, just the way they had to film that movie, and I don't know. I just appreciate Gravity a little bit more.
See, I'm the opposite there. I like this movie miles and miles ahead of Gravity. Like,
really?
I liked Gravity, but I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I know I think you liked it quite a bit more than me. So this was the movie I think I wanted Gravity to be.
Okay.
I saw this tweet that was pretty funny earlier this week that said they should make a rom-com with Matt Damon and Sandra Bullock and their characters from Gravity and The Martian, and they fall in love.
Speaking of the internet, have you seen the meme about between Saving Private Ryan, Interstellar, and The Martian? We've spent like billions of dollars to save Matt Damon, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, that is funny.
All right, so moving on to performances. We've kind of already mentioned that we both liked Matt Damon's performance, but the cast in general, it's pretty ridiculous how they got all of these people together to do a movie.
This ensemble cast is fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah, it really is. Michael Pena, of course, was my favorite. He's just fantastic. Like he was in Ant-Man. He was great in Crash as well. So he plays really strong supporting characters.
Oh, for sure.
This movie was no different. He was probably the standout for me other than Matt Damon. But I do have to admit that Jeff Daniels just didn't do it for me.
Really?
I felt like he was phoning it in. He kind of seemed bored.
I would say he had the least amount to do of everyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I wouldn't say he was phoning it in, but I don't think that his character had the scenes to kind of show a lot of emotion.
Sure.
Like he was just the guy in charge and by the books and we got to do this, PR this. I don't know. He didn't have a lot of areas where he could show a lot of range.
Yeah. I just didn't feel like I feel like a person in that situation, he's taking all these chances and he's the one that has to answer for it when something doesn't go wrong. I just didn't feel like that pressure was getting to him, and maybe it wasn't, but I just don't feel like that was weighing on him at all.
Yeah, and I agree with that. I agree with that a lot. I just don't know if Jeff Daniels is to blame or if the material, like that was written for his character, because his character never really has a scene where he has a breakdown or he has, conflicted thoughts or anything. I don't know.
Yeah, it just. There was particular points, especially when that first mission fails.
Yeah.
Because he said, "Don't worry about the inspections," and it ended up failing.
Yeah.
I just felt like that would be something where that person would get fired, and I just don't think that it weighed on him at all. At least I didn't just through the performance of Jeff Daniels. I just didn't feel it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Sean Bean was great.
Yes, he was. I like the Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah, and he's sitting right there. I was like, anybody else?
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that couldn't have been on accident. They had to have done that. I don't know if that's in the book or not, or if it's something that they put in there just for him. I laughed pretty hard, and my wife actually kind of gave me a weird look because she didn't get. And by the time the movie was over, I forgot to explain to her that he was in it. In the Lord of the Rings. So I thought that was pretty clever. I enjoyed that. I like Donald Glover's character, even though I kind of think he sort of plays the same character in everything that he does, but he does it so well that he definitely stood out to me. In the little that he was in this movie, I really liked it.
For sure. Yeah, just everybody kind of knocked it out of the park, in my opinion, with the exception maybe being Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
But it was just, I didn't know all of these people were in it before I saw it. So anytime that somebody showed up, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, my wife, the reason, she had no idea what this movie was about, to be honest with you. The only reason that she went and saw this movie with me was the fact that Kristen Wiig was in it. And she thought it was going to be really funny because obviously she's known for her comedic roles. And I didn't even know fucking Kristen Wiig was in this movie until my wife told me.
Well, Kristen Wiig doesn't exist. It's Kristen Wiig. But
God damn it.
But yeah, I didn't know she was in it either.
In my defense, that there's probably somewhere out there.
I was gonna let it go, and then you kept saying it. I was like, well, I gotta fucking correct it.
All right.
Yeah, no, I didn't know she was in it either until she popped up.
Yeah. All right, well, now I'm embarrassed. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about, and we kind of mentioned it a little bit, is the action. The landscapes were really great in this movie. Just the environment and then the action scenes in general were really great. The Mars looked beautiful in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And the action, I mean, even though there wasn't a ton of it in this movie, it was so effective, like I said, because you cared about these characters.
Yeah.
Towards the end, I actually thought, and again, I'm trying to be vague to not spoil anything. There was one particular character that I felt like they were planting something bad was going to happen to this particular character, and I was happy that it didn't. Like,
yeah, I had the same thought.
There was like a 5 or 10 minute span where I'm just like, okay, here we go. This character is going to bite it, and he never did. Well, I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, but
well, they don't know what character you're talking about.
I was kind of happy that nothing bad happened to him. I won't spoil if anything bad happens to anybody else, but yeah, I liked it. I liked how well developed the other characters were around Matt Damon. So when the action did come, especially towards the end, I was really kind of on the edge of my seat because I cared so much about them, and I wanted all of them to come back home because they'd been out in space for so long. And I really appreciated the scenes where they're talking to their wife and their kids, and I think that landed a little bit more than Interstellar did. I don't mean to keep shitting on Interstellar, but I just felt like that landed a lot more for me than Interstellar did. I think Interstellar was a little bit heavy-handed.
Yeah, I think why this movie hit so much closer for me than Interstellar did, Interstellar was very dramatic and all drama, and this movie had more humanity sprinkled into it and more humor sprinkled into it, and I really loved the relationship between Matt Damon and the crew and Matt Damon and NASA, and just like his characters, I don't know, his character really carried it. It's just the way that he handled everything in stride and kept the humor alive and didn't shift things to a totally dark place is what did it for me.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's all I have for The Martian.
All right, cool.
So star rating?
4.5.
All right, cool. I am going to go a little bit lower, 4. Yeah. I really liked it, but like I said, there was a couple of things here and there that didn't necessarily take me out of the movie, but I probably would have given it a 4.5 if it wasn't there. Yeah. So
this may be my favorite movie this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I really, really loved it.
It's definitely going to be on my top 10, but I don't know if it'll be top 5.
I might have sold it a little short in my review, but this was definitely the best movie I've seen in quite a while.
Okay, cool. All right. So our last segment, we just kind of like to bookend it with what we're into with a nerd favorite. It is my week to ask the question, and kind of per tradition, we usually try to do, and when we do a review, we usually try to, well, what's your favorite movie of that particular director or an actor or whatever? Since this is a really heavy Matt Damon movie, I figured we would talk about our favorite Matt Damon film. And for me, there's really two that jump out, and I'm pretty sure I know what Tyler's going to talk about. So for the sake of conversation, I'm going to pick the other one, which is Good Will Hunting. For the longest time, Good Will Hunting was actually on my top 10. It was it was definitely like top 3 for me for a long time. I didn't grow up in Boston, but I did live near Boston for a while, so I appreciated the scenes within Boston because I'd been to a lot of the places they were at. And it was just, I mean, I think everybody kind of relates to that character of Will, because everybody kind of wishes they were that person that kind of has that secret skill that nobody really knows about. And I mean, obviously the scenes with him and Robin Williams are great. It's just overall, it's just a really solid movie. It's one of those movies that I like more and more every time I watch it.
Yeah. I'm the same exact way with that movie. I love that movie to death, and I think that it resonates with me a lot more as I get older. And then revisiting it after Robin Williams passed away, just kind of, it has that special place for me too, because he's no longer with us, and he was one of my favorite performers. So, yeah, that movie's definitely towards the top of my list. But if you remember back to our top 10, The Departed is a top 5 favorite movie of mine. So I got to go Departed. I love that movie to death, and I would argue that I don't love it because of Matt Damon. I love it because of other things in it. He's still fantastic in it. He plays such a good little rat.
Yeah.
And that's what I meant earlier, and when we were talking about The Martian, that, you know, that he resonates more with me as an actor when he's playing someone unlikable.
Yeah.
Pretty much because of The Departed. Like, with The Martian, I think that somebody else in that role would have made me like that movie even more than I already loved it. Just because every time I see Matt Damon, I think of The Departed and what a little bitch he is. So, you know, I talked about The Departed quite a bit in my top 5 favorite movies, so you can hear me talk more about it in that episode. But yeah, for sure, my favorite Matt Damon movie is The Departed.
Yeah, and I mean, just, he has a great filmography. He has a few turds here and there, but I think actors that have been doing it for as long as he has, of course, they're gonna have movies here and there. I obviously love Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, yeah.
I thought it was great. I did actually like his performance in Interstellar, even though I wasn't huge about or crazy about the movie in general. I did like his performance. So he's definitely a great actor, and I look forward to seeing what he has left to offer. I just made it sound like he was about to die. No, but I would definitely put The Martian up there too.
Yeah, I would 100%.
I mean, it's definitely a distant third for me, but I would put it up there.
If we did a top 5 Matt Damon movie, it would be top 3 probably for me.
Yeah, for sure. Because Saving Private Ryan, he's in it. He's just not in it for very long.
But the movie's named after his character.
No, but the movie is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
All right. So that'll about do it for our latest episode of the Nerds You're Looking For podcast. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at The Nerds Podcast, like us on Facebook, follow us on Google+, vote for us for Podcast of the Month at podcastland.com. Rate, review, subscribe on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, basically any podcast directory that you use. We're on it. Definitely go see, me for sure, at Shocktober in Irvington. I'm not sure if Tyler is for sure going. It's October 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern time. I made sure that I talked to Matt and nailed down the time before I pimped it one last time. So when this posts, it will be that coming Friday. So definitely come check me out. Check out the good short films that I'm sure they're going to be screening at Shocktober.
Are you doing something?
What do you mean?
You said come check me out.
No, I'm just going to be there. Oh. Check me out. Come talk to me. We'll chit chat, whatever you want to do. I'm really looking forward to it.
Your dick if you ask him to.
Maybe. If you ask it, you'd have to ask real nicely.
You have to be a listener of the podcast.
Yeah, for sure. And prove it. Anyways, we're getting off the rails a little bit. I think that's about it, though. Oh, check out the YouTube channel, and you can email us, thenerdsyou'relooking4@gmail.com.
All right, cool, man.
For Patrick Kuhn,
Tyler Hunt.
we are the nerds you're looking for. Take it easy, guys.
See ya.